you need to listen to what people are saying and respond accordingly. If you have a pre-planned sales pitch in your head that you want to communicate, okay, great, you're prepared. But still, listen to what they're saying, because what you're prepared to say might have no impact on what they're telling you. And like I said, in that case, they're going to realize that, like, why am I wasting my time with this person? He's not listening to me. And that's going to be it. You lost them.
Brought to you by Union General Insurance. I am your host, Ben Bailey, and welcome to the curiUSity podcast, where curiosity runs on high. Thank you to our guests ahead of time and to you as our listeners, because with both, we can feed our curiosity together. In this podcast, we invite experts along various walks of life to explore topics that we as outsiders just don't understand. Now, insurance will be a part of our conversations, just like it's part of almost everything we do in our lives. But what we want to do is bring new insights into the ins and outs of each area of expertise, with hopes of growing your knowledge of their world as they see it. So without further ado, let's just dive right in. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. My guest today is Jonathan Chernoff on the marketing team at United States Liability Insurance. And today we're going to be talking about all aspects of marketing and how things have changed from how things were before COVID, how things are during COVID, and how things may change in the future. I would like to introduce Jonathan. Jonathan, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Ben. Unfortunately, I know I'm not now the first one on one of your podcast guests, but number 2 is not bad. I'll take it.
Number 2 is good. You can improve on all the mistakes that we made on the first one.
Right.
You know, I'll find new mistakes.
I didn't hear too many in the first one, so I'm looking forward to good things.
We'll see how it goes. The first thing that I always found interesting was your title, obviously. It's called Instant Quote Marketing Specialist. And like many corporate titles, this one sounds very specific to USLI. Never heard it anywhere else. Can you maybe tell the audience a little bit about how your role is defined and what you could compare it to in another industry, maybe?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what makes it unique is obviously those first 2 words, right? Instant quote. That is a unique, wording to USLI. So that's sort of where it stands out in that unique context. I would say, what that entails is, as a marketing specialist, for other companies, that could mean, maybe you're working on advertisements, or, your job is to cold call, or you're working on marketing materials. And that's, could be across, the whole spectrum of whatever services your company is providing. But for us specifically, as an instant quote marketing specialist, we specialize in marketing instant quote, which I'm sure we'll dive into more later a little bit, but, our phone and web quoting platform. So that's our focus. That's what we're, geared into, is get people on board with that platform and, market it to the best of our abilities.
Okay. Well, that makes a lot of sense. I've had the luxury of dealing with you personally quite a bit lately, considering you're relatively new to this role. And it seems to me that you're there for us for almost everything we need, which is great. Thank you, by the way.
Of course.
In my own personal view, I believe that a company's marketing approach and message reflects heavily on its own culture. That being said, I'd like to ask you a 3-part question here, so bear with me.
Sure.
The first part is, how would you describe USLI's culture? And if you had to put one word on it, what might that word be? And finally, regarding your level of service with your customers, us being one of them, is that something that you would contribute to your specific position or the culture you operate in?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, USLI's culture is definitely unique. I mean, I have a number of friends, family who work in other companies, and when I tell them about USLI and just I think what makes them so successful is their ability to get their employees to buy in, and that when everyone's bought in, seeing success in whatever your mission is, whatever you're trying to do, is that much easier. You know, it could be sports. We hear that all the time, whatever it is. If you have like-minded people who are looking to have the same sort of success or obtain the same goals, then that makes that mission much more obtainable. If I had to say, one word, I guess it would sort of be more two words, just like-minded people, or I guess in a sense attitude, which I know we'll get into a little later as well as part of the real USLI greater mission. But people here understand what it takes to accomplish our mission, and they believe in the process, and that's comes from the top down. Tom Nerney, our CEO, practices what he preaches. He really believes it, and we've seen a lot of success following his lead, and I think that just builds that natural belief in people that, okay, if we follow this formula of success that's been laid out for us, we're going to do well. And I think that has gone a long way, in getting people to buy in and seeing the success that we've seen. I don't think that it's just specific to my position. I would say, I mean, in my role, I certainly talk more, or I mean, in communication more with our customers like you, Ben, and even, extending upon that, your agents, which, others in our company don't. But I can tell you, I was an underwriter before this. I've been in the company for over 5 years, and I really see it across the board. And the people that don't, buy into that mindset and into that culture, and that honestly, it usually doesn't last for them. And honestly, you can almost tell early on that, there's either some sort of negativity when they come in, and it shouldn't ever overlap into a sense of we should never question the status quo or look to do what we do better. I really believe it goes across all teams, and that, we have a really great leadership, like I mentioned, from the top down with Tom. And I think that with that, it's, again, something that you see across the board. And I'm sure if you talk to your team as well, they would say whoever they work with generally at USLI, we do our best to do what we say we're going to do, and be there for our customers.
Yeah, buy-in's a funny thing, isn't it? I think it carries a lot more weight than what people give it credit for sometimes. There's there's the old mentality of kind of like top-down management. Do as I say. I'm paying you to do this job. Just do it. And it may seem that things are getting done. It may seem that the mechanism is working. People are doing their jobs, but
Right.
they could be doing them a lot better. And if you found a way to, I guess, inspire and motivate and get people to buy into your message, not just attached to it, but actually be in it, then the level at which they perform is just so much better.
Absolutely.
It's more fluid rather than mechanical.
Absolutely. And it's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
No.
If it was, we'd have a lot more successful companies, organizations in this world. I think the ones that struggle are the ones that can't get their people to buy in. But absolutely, those that can, and if it's a successful formula, then they're going to end up doing really well.
They're a big influence on how that runs. And speaking of influence, like who you mentioned, Tom Nerney. Is he a big influence in your life on how you operate, or is it somebody else? Like who's the biggest influence, or who are some of the biggest influences in your life, and they kind of direct how you do what you do?
Yeah, I think from a professional standpoint, certainly Tom is sort of like the top of the mountain, right? Like the pinnacle. He's an incredible guy. He works so hard. He cares about his people. I see him at Christmas parties. We have hundreds, maybe over 1,000 employees now, and he knows most of their names, and people come and shake his hand and talk to him, and he's talking with everybody. And I think that's sort of that bought in thing we were talking about before, that he's part of the community. He's not really this outside figure who runs the show. He's in there with us oftentimes. But if I had to think of someone who has most influenced me just as a person, I mean, you really have to look at who you've interacted with the most, right? And I mean, and really for me, it's got to be my dad, and the amount of time that we spend together. We talk about life problems, and even work, things too that we all go through in life, and how best to work through those. It would definitely be him. And It's interesting. He's actually a minister, right? So I see how he interacts with the people in his congregation and also people that he works with. And it is sort of similar. It's a different context, but similar to Tom in that he's like in there with his people. He's not this like shadowy figure who comes out to the pulpit or whatever and does his thing. And then you don't see him he's there in there with them. And I think that's rubbed off on me a lot, to sort of see people as people and not just maybe an opportunity to see one of your goals completed or get something for yourself, but look at it in a way as like building those bonds and relationships with the people that you come across on a daily basis will by product allow you to see the success that you're looking for anyway. And so I'd say that definitely my dad, and just seeing how over the years he has sort of balanced those two things.
Yeah. How's he doing, by the way?
He's doing well. He's doing well. Yeah, thanks. So he, for those listening, he had a heart attack about a month ago, but he's bounced back. A lot of encouraging reports from doctors, cardiologists. So, yeah, very serious, but we're thankful that he's here, and life hits you fast, but you got to be grateful for the people that are in your life now. I think that's definitely something I've taken away from this is, appreciate what you got because, it could be gone very quickly. So,
Yeah, that's a great message. I mean, a lot of times we get so busy moving so quickly and things just change so rapidly that we oftentimes forget about what we do have and what's right in front of us. And sometimes it takes a huge happening like this or smaller things sometimes to open up our eyes a little bit.
Yeah, I don't.
Again,
Hopefully, it wouldn't take
get grounded.
an immediate relative having a heart attack for most people, but I can say
Yeah, that's not what we're shooting for.
I'm definitely guilty of that. I was just, things were just flying by, and I wasn't prioritizing things. Now that I see that, maybe I need to prioritize more. So definitely true.
Yeah, and like anything, you got to put it into practice if you want to develop a habit and keep it going forward. I read about a lot of great things that I should be doing and load my brain with all these things, but until you actually put them into action, they can drift away very easily.
Absolutely. And that's the hardest part for people is getting anyone to try new things. It's very hard for people. But once you're able to get in the habit of trying new things, I think you'll find yourself finding that you're now doing more of the things that you love to do as opposed to, sort of just repeating what you've been doing over the last years or whatever it might be.
Yeah. Tom's big on that, isn't he? And USLI in general about, I think actionable, isn't that the word? Put things into action, don't just talk about them. Don't have good intention. Like put them into action, do them.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, it's do what you say you're going to do. And that's like, I've heard that continuously since I've been at USLI. Do what you say you're going to do. Nothing, and nobody's perfect, but nothing drives me crazier than having conversations with people, could be in my personal life or professional life. They say they're going to do something, and not only does it not happen, but you never hear from them again. It's like, It's crazy to me. It's like, if you say you're going to do, like, if you don't think you're going to be able to do it, then don't say it. Okay, let's find something that we can do together. It's just terrible. Yeah. So the big message that I've always heard at USLI and what I see people do so often is do what you say you're going to do. And that will set you up for success and will set up your relationship for success for whoever you might be interacting with.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what do you do in a situation like that? It's a tough one because I was guilty of that too. I probably still am from time to time where my intentions are there and, I want to please the person across the table or on the other side of this email or whatever. And I tell them that, I'm going to do this, but then you give it some thought and you kind of start to backpedal or, what I don't like doing anymore is just ghosting someone,
Right.
leaving them hanging with no word. I mean, that's not professional. It's not even nice. So the stories we start to form in our head when we're on the other side of that are horrible.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And look, it's like I said, like nobody's perfect, right? And nobody's going to bat, 1,000% or whatever. There's going to be things that happen, things that come up in life, but, and you might even miss one or two things that come by. And again, that's just human nature, but at least follow up, stay in communication with that person, let them know, hey, even if it's something you agreed to, and maybe now you're saying, maybe this isn't something I want to do or don't think this is actually going to work for us. it's okay. I mean, and if you do that with someone and, they're angry with you or it's, a big deal, okay, maybe they're not actually being the best that they can be in their job. Honestly, I feel like there's always ways to move forward and have success, but yeah,
Mhm.
going cold turkey, never a good strategy, in my opinion. Never.
And I feel like people don't want to let people down, or they're afraid of the reaction they'll get if they tell people no. And it's really not that scary. Or even, hey, let me think about this for a minute. I'll get back to you, and then give them a date tomorrow or next week or whatever. And even if it still is a no, it's better than saying yes and disappearing.
No, absolutely, and I've struggled with that as well. I mean, early in my professional career, it was hard for me to say no to people. You just feel like this is my job, and this is I need to go above and beyond, which is true. But yeah, it's okay to say no. The people that have a problem with people telling them no are the ones with the issues. Honestly, it's
Hmm.
it's totally yeah, and that goes across life too. You have to be okay saying no. Otherwise people
Hmm.
are going to take advantage of you. It'll just happen. And,
Hmm.
it doesn't mean become a no person and you just don't want to, you're saying no because you don't want to do things. But if you really think through it and think rationally and you think this, whatever topic you're discussing or strategy you're looking at, you don't believe is going to succeed, then you need to voice your opinion.
Yeah. And coming from the other side of that, like, I appreciate being told no, if that's what it is. Yeah. I mean, I don't want people to tell me no all the time,
Yeah.
but like when I am told no, it allows me to, okay, I know where I stand, and now I can move on. Now I can maybe go pitch this somewhere else, or maybe I can work on my pitch and figure out why are they saying no and
Right.
get better.
Again, it comes
But
back to
yeah, I'd
that.
rather be told no.
Yeah. And it comes back to that, issue of not following up. Like, right. Is it better to just say no or to just disappear and ghost them? You have to be okay
Yeah.
with having that sort of conversation.
Could you share a little bit about like your journey within USLI, like how you got to where you are today and where you started and what that's looked like?
Yeah, so starting at USLI or my professional career, just all the above.
USLI's
Okay.
first insurance. Well, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Wherever you're
yeah, yeah.
comfortable, wherever you want to start and
Sounds
flow
good.
together.
Yeah, so I got hired at USLI. I was 23 years old. So I'd had one short stint and another job before that. And so this was my first introduction to anything insurance. I mean, we had people there. They studied risk management, risk analysis. Whatever. They had degrees in these things. I was a criminal justice major. I thought I was going to be a cop my whole life. Right. This is what I thought I was going to do. But I was looking for a career outside of that, and I had a friend who worked at USLI, and he was just, I love my job, and I said, well, I don't really hear that often. What do tell me about it? And he did, and he's like, the people are great, and he's talking about, we have a gym and like lunch, and I'm like 23, I'm like, that sounds great, and all that stuff, and young people, and like a great way to like study insurance, and there's opportunities for to take degrees and all this stuff, and I'm like, hey, let's give it a shot. So, interviewed, got hired, and started in our our sort of our first level role, which is our policy issuance team, which a lot of carriers don't do actually, but I think is really invaluable, especially for people who are new to insurance. And basically, your job was to issue the policy. Everything's done, right? Quoting, binding. Now you just need to issue it. So that's what we were doing. A few endorsements sprinkled in there. Then about 6 months later, I got promoted to our underwriter assistant position on a professional lines team, actually. So I was issuing, nonprofit and personal lines, and I jumped into professional, and great team. I was there for about a year and a half, then moved over to the underwriting role with our personal lines team,
Can I
which,
stop you real quick?
yeah, please.
For anyone listening that's not in insurance, how would you describe what underwriter means? What do they do
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean,
in layman's terms?
I've been trying to explain to my parents what I did for 2 years, and they still don't understand it. So really, what an underwriter does, they take information that's provided to them by an agent. So let's say you, Ben Bailey, needs to go get auto insurance, right? You're going to call up Joe Schmo at Allstate Insurance and say, "Hey, Joe, I need insurance for my car, auto insurance." He's okay, great. He says, fill out this application. Let me get some information on you. And so what he does is he does that. and then he shops it around and tries to find, coverage for you, maybe like a good rate, whatever it might be. So that information, which is, could be your age, your driving history, whatever. And this goes across all sorts of products, across all sorts of lines of insurance. And that information trickles up to eventually an underwriter who works for a carrier, which I like to describe carriers. They're called that because they carry the risk, right? So if there's a loss, it's on the carrier. So what the underwriter does is take that information about the person or the risk, business, whatever it might be, and they take that and say, okay, number one, is this a fit under whatever product? So auto insurance, let's say, that they're looking to get coverage for. And if so, is it a risk that we want to take on as a company? So Ben, if you're, been driving for 15 years and you have a total clean history, you're not driving like I don't know, Mustang with like 800 horsepower, then you're a good candidate, right? But if we look at it and you're like, oh, Ben's had 3 accidents, right? And, 2 speeding tickets and he drives this Ferrari, then I might be like, I don't think we want to offer Ben coverage. So that's what an underwriter does. It's really just a risk analysis position. So they take a potential, insured, look at the characteristics of the insured and decide if they're a fit in the product and if it's a risk that we want to take on as a company. So sort of all of that sort of goes into it.
Got it. Thank
Sure.
you for that. So you were at underwriting assistant, and you were promoted to underwriter. Is that
correct? Yeah.
Is that
So I
right?
jumped teams from professional lines, underwriting assistant, to personal lines, and was on that team for 2 years. And in that time, became what's known in USLI as a travel underwriter. So USLI, we have sort of a twofold job responsibilities as an underwriter. We have home office underwriters, which are underwriters who quote risks from the office 24/7. And we have travel underwriters who will go into offices that are appointed with us periodically. It's usually like 1 week a month, something like that. And we'll go into those offices, talk about our products, talk about where they're at as a company, where maybe we can partner on in different areas to grow our relationship, have them send us more business. If the things that they think we're doing well, great. If there are things they think we can do better, okay, we try to work those things out. But really, a lot of those meetings are fact-finding meetings. So my territory was the New York region for about a year and a half. And so that was Long Island, which I don't recommend anyone driving to Long Island under any circumstances. But Long Island, and then I had Manhattan as well, and Brooklyn, and a little bit north like Yonkers as well. And it was great. And I loved the travel. I loved meeting our customers, who were appointed with us, and trying to build that relationship and getting to know people and seeing the fruits of my labor too. Going to those offices and they're calling me with business now, and it's a great feeling. So that sort of led me to think, okay, where can I do more of that? And, I was looking within the company, maybe for a role that was more designed for that travel purposes, interacting with our customers and driving new business and being out on the road and seeing new places. And this position here, instant quote marketing specialist, was on there. And I'm going to be honest with you, Ben, I hadn't heard of it. I mean, we're not a huge company, but I hadn't heard of it. So I had to meet with some people on the team, find out what it was about. I mean, I knew what instant quote was, but I didn't quite know what the whole position would entail. And I just loved what I was hearing. And I was like, wow, you get to like meet with your customers every week, and you're promoting this platform, which I like knew was a great platform. I was like, if I was an agent, why would I not use this? I have friends who are on the agency side who do utilize it, and they're, they sing its praises. And so I was like, wow, this is twofold. I get to do something I love to do, which is travel and be with our customers, and also sell a product that I know is going to bring value to their day-to-day life. So I interviewed with our leader, with Katie Taraborelli, and got the position, and it's been great. Now, I will say my first day in this new role was the first day that we all got sent home for COVID. So I had no idea what I was getting into. And my leader, Katie, had just gotten back from maternity leave a week before. So believe it when I tell you, those first 2 weeks were crazy. Absolutely crazy. I mean, for everybody. Nobody knew what was going on in the world, but it was wild.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm very happy with where I am now, for sure.
It's going to be hard to gauge this, but and it might be a little premature, but what is your biggest challenge in your role right now?
Oh my goodness. Well, you're right. It is hard because I almost don't know, what it would be like pre-COVID versus like now with COVID. Obviously we're not traveling at all. So typically I would be, out with you or out with, Eamon or somebody else, and we would be hanging out and going to agencies and driving business, and it's energizing, and it's like it's sort of for me that I love that and I feed on that. And really I think the biggest adjustment was now sitting in, quote unquote my home office, which I've come to love. It's great. But early on I was sort of struggling with this is what I was trying to get away from. I was trying to get out, with our
Mm.
customers and live, have that more active day to day. Like I said, getting into agents' offices and talking about Instant Quote and bringing value to what they do on a day to day basis, making their lives better, making it easier for them to bring in business and get business turned around, which I definitely am still doing. But it was tough to like sort of go from, okay, that's no longer happening. How can I now take what I have, which is what we've all become, right? Like Zoom experts and WebEx experts and Blue Jeans experts, which I didn't use Zoom. I mean, I had FaceTime, right? Like maybe I used that like twice in my life. So how can I become really good at using these platforms and still bring that same value and feed off of that, sort of different energy in my day to day?
Yeah, it's quite a change for everyone, and the learning curve for everyone is at a different pace. And some are a little more resistant than others. And for some, I've gone through periods up and down. There's been times where I'm like, this is a blessing in disguise. This is great. And then I've gone through some times like
Right.
the next week, I'll be like, this is awful. When is it going to end?
I know.
you
I
know,
know.
and back and
Well,
forth.
hopefully most
It's hard
people
to
have
find
bought
that
in now. But if they
balance.
haven't, they're behind the ball and they might be in some trouble. Who knows what the future holds? But for right now, this is the new norm. If you want to have those conversations with your clients, whatever it might look like, this is
Mhm.
you got to know the ins and outs of these platforms, and it takes effort, and it's something new.
Mhm.
Like we talked about, people are hesitant to try new things. But if I hadn't dove into these platforms early on and worked at becoming efficient at them, my life would have been much harder. And I think most people would agree with that.
Is there anything that you've done before that kind of helped prepare you for some of this challenge that we're in, or are you into that crowd? Well, like most people, that nothing could have prepared us for this. I don't know, like
Hmm.
anything that you went through, or an experience of any kind that kind of said, oh, you can draw back from that experience, be like, oh, I'll do
Man,
this
I,
or I'll
I,
do
I
that.
can't, honestly. And, I remember when I really realized that things were going to be different. And I was watching an NBA basketball game, and it was
Yeah.
the game that they shut it down mid game. They found out this big guy, Rudy Gobert, had coronavirus. Nobody knew what it was, and they just shut down the game at half. It wasn't even halftime. They sent everybody home. Said everyone go home. They're postponing games, and I'm like, wow, if a league like the NBA, an organization like the NBA is shutting it down, they're not going to bring in money this way anymore. That's how serious it is. I'm like, this is for real. I remember going out and buying like all these groceries, which is like looking back so silly. We just didn't know what was going on. So I can't say maybe nine
Yeah.
11 honestly. And I was only 11 years old. I was young, but I remember even at that age, like things are now different. And like your conversations change on the day to day. You don't know what terrorism was, right? And I didn't,
Mhm.
even before this, I'm like, oh, pandemic, like that was in that one movie once, like crazy, whatever. But now it's like real life.
What would you say your favorite thing to do is in your role?
My favorite thing, I would say, stuff like this. I mean, honestly, in my previous roles, this wouldn't have necessarily, happened. There'd be a lot less interaction like this with our customers and driving new business. And that's really what I wanted in this role as well. I wanted to be able to put in energy to something and like get something back as well. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's really what this has provided me the ability to do, and to work more closely with our customers. Really, I mean, as an underwriter, You do work back and forth, but it's much more, emails and maybe you talk on the phone once in a while. But this is much more the reverse. Like, I've had meetings with you where we're brainstorming on how we can, get more business on the books, and I love that. And that's what I'm getting in this role.
Yeah, and a lot of that, I think the most productive conversations are not so much thinking about ourselves, but thinking about, our customers, the public, the people buying the insurance policy, the agency selling it to them sending it, all the lines that goes uphill to the carrier. And it's really trying to meet them where they want to be met. What are people into right now? How do they like to work with other companies, maybe even in other industries? And I think that's an important thing to constantly step back and look at what you're doing, that a lot of carriers, a lot of companies in general don't do that. They spend a lot of time and effort finding something that works, and then they finally figure it out and they're like, all right, we're good. And then they get stuck in that rut. And then they never step back and say, oh, well, things have changed. And if we just make this little adjustment or maybe major change, we can continue on or grow bigger. They just kind of
Yeah.
stay in that rut. And
Yeah.
I just think
And
it's a
they
big
end up
mistake.
paying the price for it later on. I mean, I can't tell you. I've done so many meetings, hundreds of meetings with agents, customers, and the people that come in, I can already tell they know what they want to say, what they want to talk about. They're not going to deviate no matter what the agent is telling them. And it just goes nowhere. And it leaves a horrible impression. They're never going to work with you. It's like, and sometimes that's just an experience thing. But you need to listen to what people are saying and respond accordingly. If you have a pre-planned sales pitch in your head that you want to communicate, okay, great, you're prepared. But still, listen to what they're saying, because what you're prepared to say might have no impact on what they're telling you. And like I said, in that case, they're going to realize that, like, why am I wasting my time with this person? He's not listening to me. And that's going to be it. You lost them. So you have to listen to what people are saying.
Yeah. If you're extremely niche in what you do, yeah, you can a pitch for that client because you're only going after that client. You probably know what to expect, but everybody's different. You need to be very agile. And I'd rather walk in not knowing what I'm going to say and kind of figure out what they want to hear and, make sure it's true, obviously. But
No, I think
yeah, kind of work off of that.
I think that's
Have a conversation
brilliant.
with people.
It's when you're having a sales meeting, you're meeting somebody you haven't met before. You don't even know. I mean, a lot of these agents that we talk to are like, "What do you do? What do you do best?" Because that's what we want to do with you. And then listen to what they have to say and act accordingly, adapt accordingly. If I have this whole spiel about homeowners and auto, and they're telling me that, oh yeah, like 95% of our book is contractors, and then I'm like, oh wait, but what about home? Like, again, it just goes into this nonsensical conversation that isn't doing anybody any good. So yeah, you have to be able to adapt, but it's just listening, and we preach that all the time at USLI. Listen to what the person in front of you is saying, because we have solutions.
Yeah.
But if you come there and just do a brain dump about something that you know about, because you know about it and you feel comfortable talking about it, you're not moving any needles. You're actually moving backwards. So, but yeah, it's hard for people to get that because they get, like you said, they get stuck in this rut of, this is what we do. This has worked in the past, and we're not willing to deviate from that mission. And they pay the price later. That's what happens.
Oh yeah, I've had countless conversations with marketing people and trained marketing people and gone out and talked about it myself. And it's, for some reason, people want to, hey, I learned all this stuff. I'm here now. I have your attention. Let me just tell you everything so I can check it off
It's almost
my
like you're
list.
checking boxes, right?
And the biggest mistake, they are, and you can tell, like, it's so forced, and you might have a successful piece of that conversation, or it took the entire conversation on one product because that's what they do well. And you happen to do it good too. And then after that, you're all laughing and having a great time and you found something that you can click together with. And then they'll come around and be like, but before I leave, let me just tell you this real quick too. And like, you're just throwing a blanket over what you just did good. Like, they're going to forget some of that now.
I
like,
know.
just
And
walk away.
And that's a training thing. And that's a top down thing as well. I mean, I know, when I started meeting with customers, it wasn't always, like roses and great conversations, but you learn over time, like you said, listen what people are saying. If they do something really well and you've connected on that, great. Stop. Focus on that, move forward on that. And then if other
Yeah.
opportunities arise later, great. But yeah, I mean, people who just talk and talk and talk afterward, they want to check off those boxes, never works out.
It reminds me of the scene in, have you seen the
I
movie Moneyball?
have with Brad Pitt, right? Yeah.
Brad Pitt, where he plays Billy Bean, and they're sitting in that. He's talking about a trade, and then the guy starts to say something, and he just hangs up on him. He says, I think he was going to say something else. When you get the answer you want, hang up.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. I love it.
Like, just stop. What do you think that, I mean, you've only been doing this since February,
March. Yeah, early March.
February, March. What would you say that your peers or other people would consider you very good at?
Well, again, I really hope it would be, he does what he says he's going to do. I think that's probably the most important trait or characteristic for any person in any profession. But I'd hope also availability as well. Part of my role, I'm a solution, to hopefully to you and other wholesalers where, you want to help, like if you need help marketing something or, trying to drive a new business, I want to be a resource for you. And by being successful in that, I need to be available also. So that means not waiting days, to respond to whatever it might be and following through on the things that we talk about. But I think really, hopefully, listening to people, being available, and doing what I say I'm going to do after our conversation.
I'll make sure
Oh
the
my
team sends you
God.
plenty of
Thanks a
requests for
lot, Ben.
marketing material tomorrow. No problem. Keep you on your toes. So, like, how would you say the current environment of COVID has affected your day to day? And I don't know as if I asked this to, Katie, for example, I'm sure I would get a much
Right.
different answer than what you're about to give me. But have you noticed any changes from, even though it was the day before that things got shut down, to now? What have you noticed that has changed
Yeah.
along the
Well,
way, either good or bad?
I'll start with the good. So one of the things that I've just noticed in my personal life is I'm sleeping like a baby, and I have no idea why. And I've had a little trouble with sleep in the past. I'm gonna call myself an insomniac, but I've just been sleeping well. Maybe because that pressure is not there to get up and do my commute or whatever. But I've been sleeping like a baby. I've been, my I've been watching. My I like to focus a lot on fitness. I guess that's one thing I do miss, like going to the gym. But I do have some home gym stuff, which I love to use, and I've been watching what I'm eating and really focusing on that. So I definitely have more time in the day. I'd say that's one of the best things is I definitely have more time in the day, and you have to use that time, well. But if you do, it's really something that I don't think that we've seen a lot. Just as working people, because whether we're commuting to work or whatever it might be, it's just we have more time in the day now. And it goes back to even what we started off talking about, refocusing on what is important to you and spending your time on those things as opposed to things that really were meaningless before. And so I think that's one thing I've taken a lot away from this whole thing is I have more time in my hands and I need to use it to talk to people I want to, talk to, who I care about, do things that are going to help me grow as a person professionally. And it is nice having more of that time to focus on that. Now the downside, I mean, I'm a pretty social guy. I like to be with people. I like to go out and do things and whatever. And obviously we just don't have the ability to do that right now. And, it's funny. I walked into my gym like a week ago just to be like, all right, could I be comfortable doing this? What does it look like? And I walked in and, it wasn't like packed, but there were a good amount of people there. And I looked and I was like, you know what? No, walked right over to the desk, canceled my membership. That was it. I was like, I won't feel comfortable doing this anymore. So I guess just that mindset of now we're COVID aware, right? And we're being more conscious of that. It sucks, man. But it is, and hopefully things will change in the future. And some areas have gotten better than others, and we've seen it ebbs and flows. So trying to stay up with that. But I think just having that mindset of not obviously thinking about those things in those social settings It's been good and bad, but it's definitely been a change for all of us in one way or another.
Yeah, it certainly make you more aware of a lot of the things around you. Like I got to spend a lot more time around my three boys and seeing their day to day, their ups and downs throughout the day, and it was quite a learning experience. I mean, you think you know someone
Yeah.
until you're around them all the time, every day, and you can pick up on a lot of things. I mean, you could be annoyed by things, but you can also learn a lot and roll with it and learn how to deal with things. I mean, yeah, you mentioned noticing what you eat more. I've definitely taken notice to what I've been eating throughout this, and it's been awful. Like the COVID-19, early on they said it was because it's the 19th strain of it, which was
Oh,
disproven, but
I didn't know
it's
that.
COVID-19 because
Yeah.
it came out in 2019, and yeah, and to me, COVID-19 is the number of pounds I put on during this
Yeah,
process. So
it
hopefully I
just
can put a stop
that
to
that
that.
was me early on too, but some switch just flipped for me. But tell me about, I mean, you're a parent, I'm not a parent. What has that been like having your kids home? Maybe are they back in school now, or I guess it's probably a little bit. But what was it like having them home like that?
They are back in school now. It's been quite a journey, and it's not. You can't look at each state and say it's all the same. Each county is different, each district is different. It's broken down quite a bit. I'm learning now because I thought when there's these different phases you go in, and basically phase one was it's all virtual, and then phase two is when they would give you the option. They would allow your kids to come back physically with precautions, if you wanted to, or you could keep your kids completely virtual, or then they threw in this ball of hybrid, which is a little mix of both. I don't know how I
Mm.
feel about that. The hybrid one, it just seems like you're throwing a wrench into an already
Yeah.
difficult situation on the teachers, to have to deal with yet a third option when it's already complicated and different. So it's it's a process, though. Our three boys are in this public school up the street from us, and
Okay.
they started the virtual part. And okay, so my oldest is in third grade, and then the two I have two identical twin boys as well, and they're in kindergarten, and to completely different. The oldest was doing okay, and then the youngest, I mean, I would jump on a conference call, and my wife works at home too, and she would be on a conference call or something. I'd go downstairs, I'd hear the iPads talking. I'd hear the teacher going through this stuff to these kindergartners, and
Oh man.
the boys were nowhere to be found.
Oh,
I'd go up in their room and they're watching YouTube, and they throw a fit. How much longer? Is it almost over? I don't want to do it anymore. And after about a week of that, like I don't know how it is for other kindergartners. It seems hard to hold their
absolutely,
attention that
absolutely.
long. Hell,
Yeah,
it's hard
really.
to hold adult attention that long. But we had to make a decision, and there's a preschool down the street that was like a private school and that we had used in the past, and very very small, and they had coincidentally two openings, and we put them back in there for the kindergarten. It was a very small class, and everybody's wearing masks, and all the staff and everybody's wearing masks, and not letting parents get out of the cars at pick up or drop off. It's they come and get your child and everything, and it's worked out really well, and they love it. They love school, they love being around other kids, they love their teacher, they come home and like, let's do
Wait, what
homework. Like,
happened?
who are you?
Right.
I know, like, I
Is
think you
this a
have
side
COVID or
effect of
something. This
COVID?
isn't
Yeah,
normal.
right.
And then the public schools went into phase two last week. So Wednesday last week, well, it was staggered, but last week was the first day that my oldest could go back to school physically. And again, smaller class because some of the people are doing it virtually still. It's a struggle. I was sitting there next to them during the whole process of when they were doing the virtual learning, and listening to the teacher and the other kids, and these are third graders, these are 8 and 9 year olds, and it's I don't know, I just feel for them. I feel for the kids because this isn't what they're used to, and I don't really think it's in their best interest, socially and emotionally and everything at that level. And I feel bad for the teachers because they're obviously having to teach in a way that is completely foreign to them. And if you've mastered a way of controlling the classroom of young kids who have a lot of energy and teaching a lesson, and then all of a sudden you're just on a screen and anybody can chat or say whatever they want, whenever they want. I mean, that's hard. That's hard. So you could see the frustration and the impatience sometimes, and, just the struggle that it was. And it along this way, like there's been some really, what
Mm-hmm.
I call, some ugly stuff, but it's always been a moment, a teaching moment as a parent, to show my boys and explain to my boys, hey, you know what? This is really hard on your teacher too. It's hard on us. This is not normal. This is how we do. This is not how she does things either. So recognize that, this is how people act sometimes when they're a little out of their element. Don't take it personal. Just how can you help this situation, you and her? And there's been a lot of those moments along the way of, I guess it's emotional intelligence, just kind of trying to teach life lessons
Yeah,
that
I
aren't in a
can tell you
textbook,
hats off
you know?
to you parents and teachers too. I mean, bringing up the next generation is our most important mission, and obviously you are on the front line. So thank you, and I think we all need to appreciate a little bit more what teachers do and the impact they have on kids' lives.
Mhm. Yeah, well, I think you work for an organization too that is making some changes too that are going to be lasting,
Yeah.
beyond just you and I. And what are some of those things that you've noticed as a large organization like yourself in the insurance industry? Like, what are some things that you guys have changed or you've witnessed or been a part of, and you're like, this is a very positive thing. This is
Well,
going to
I
last.
think
This is great.
really the having the ability to, and we were a little bit ahead of the game with the using different virtual platforms to have meetings with our customers. And I think that as a company we've become very, very good at that, very efficient at that. A lot of us really know what we're doing when we're using those platforms, whether it's having a webinar or just setting up a WebEx meeting. Just having the ability to do that going forward, no matter what happens with COVID. I know at the end of the day, we do want to some extent to have people come back into the office. Again, nobody knows what that looks like. We're not even planning anything right now because it's just there's still too many unknowns. But having the ability, whether that's inner office, so within the company, maybe someone's at home, the ability to just, Skype them or send them a WebEx meeting and talk to them like that. Or, with some of our customers who maybe are working from home for the long haul, being good at that, at using those tools is going to be invaluable in the future for us.
Yeah, I mean, everything's virtual, and some of that is good. Some of that is not. Well, I'm not going to say it's bad, but it's not the same, and I don't know if that's good or bad yet at this point. But
Yeah,
some
I
things
mean,
will
some of
be
the things that we
much more
really
convenient.
focus on, like community and
Like,
culture, I'm really grateful I had those 5 years in the company, building those relationships and networking. But, for people who are newer to the company, that's going to be a much bigger challenge. Um, and we have ways for them to meet, like we do, like what we call leadership outreach, where our leaders meet with the groups of people and we just talk about certain things. And, we still have like virtual events as a company. We actually did a variety show last night, which was pretty interesting. People just showing off their talents and stuff. Um, but it is, yeah, I mean, there are going to be some things that are missed that I think that people need, that community and culture feel as well goes into that.
that's probably allowed somebody in your role, like, or any marketing role with you, ironically, to get closer with the community, because I imagine in normal circumstances you'd be on the road a lot more. And like, how much of your position is supposed to be or was supposed to be on the road as opposed
So I
to
was supposed to be
in the home
traveling
office?
every week. Now there could be some local meetings that I would have done, which just required me to, drive to different offices for a few days a week, or I'd be flying, to a different city and, setting up meetings that way. So yeah, we are much more close knit now as a team, I would say. And but granted, this is what I don't know anything else, so far. I've only been with the team for 6 months, so it's kind of crazy. But people I've talked to, they're like, yeah, like maybe we checked in once a week, and not everyone would be there. We check in every morning now. We have a 10 a.m. meeting every morning as a team. And, if you have something planned, you can't make it, that's fine. But if not, you're expected to be there. And yeah, I mean, I think, people just being able to communicate like that with our team every day, bounce things off each other, bounce ideas off each other. Maybe we're having success in one area. We want to tell everyone about it. We're struggling in one area. We want some feedback from the team. It's been huge. So that's been certainly, I think, a nice byproduct of this whole new environment too, is just having that more communication within my team. As opposed to if I was traveling every day, you're hardly ever talking to anybody.
And I wonder what that's going to look like in 6 months or a year or 2 years from now, because of what we've adopted in the meantime, with things being kind of virtually or using the phone, using Zoom more, completely now. But, a guy on my team came to me and we were talking about it, thinking long term. Hey, when people are comfortable with us getting back in their office, when we're comfortable getting in other people's offices again, is it 4 or 5 days on the road again? Does it just go back to that? Because we've found some really good efficiencies using other means than jumping in a car and getting stuck in traffic. You can only hit so many places. Like maybe you only go out 2 or 3 days a week or one. I mean, we don't even know at this point, but it's something that's going to be discussed. I'm sure that's going to be discussed with you too. I'm sure it won't just go back to, well, this is the way we've always done
No,
it.
definitely not.
You don't seem like that kind of
and
company.
I'm sure what I anticipate down the road, whenever that might be, whenever, it's again, it's so hard to think about when that might happen. There's so many things we need to figure out as a country and as a society. But I'd say it'd be some sort of hybrid where, where we say, okay, we have this one, agency we want to go to. We've seen them a few times. They still send us nothing, right? Do we want to buy a plane ticket, book a hotel room, do what we have to do, go in there, and we're gonna get one submission? I think this has allowed companies who focus on outbound or outreach, getting out and seeing our agents, to sort of look back and say, okay, how can we do this more effectively and efficiently? Could a phone call, to that agent, or planning a Zoom meeting or a WebEx meeting to that agent, allow us to have the same impact and look at, our expenses on a super low end? I'm just sort of thinking out loud here, but I would imagine that this has allowed people in my role, the travel role. It's a traveling salesperson, and that's sort of been, that's been a thing, a profession for forever, right? People go out, they try to sell something, it's they do every single day. Okay, this allows us to sort of have a different approach to that, and maybe diversify how we're doing it, and look at each situation differently, as opposed to one size fits all approach, which I don't believe was as effective and efficient as it should have been. And now we can utilize more tools to be even better.
Yeah, I'm sure you've learned a lot this last 6 months along the way. What are some of the biggest things you say you'd learned about your customers, our industry, people in general?
Wow, that's a heavy question.
In the last 6 months.
I think that,
well, you should have kept that gym membership then,
right.
obviously.
So
you could lift this.
I think that people, so what I've started to see, obviously this has been a challenging time for a lot of people, personally, emotionally, but professionally, obviously, as well. And I think what I've seen that's different is people who I work with are more willing to reach out and ask for help. And so in some areas with some customers that maybe the first few months of the pandemic were not willing to do certain things or didn't want to commit to anything, sort of see, okay, what I've been doing for the last 20 years, owning my, my business, my agency, whatever it might be, is not necessarily going to work anymore. So what resource do I have at my disposal to learn about other ways to bring in business and continue to grow or start growing again? And I can tell you, and that's what I want to be as a marketing specialist, instant quote marketing specialist in this role, is a resource for you all. Now, obviously, we're selling a platform that it's a USLI platform, but we've seen time and time again, and even through this pandemic, where it brings value to agents across the board. It saves them time and allows them to focus on other areas in their business that maybe needs attention. It's almost like could end up being some sort of like passive income in a sense too, where you're just seeing quotes, come in your inbox. You're not even doing anything. You're not even touching it. So I've had people reach out to me who I would have never guessed would have done it before. People maybe that we've been trying to get rolling for years, and are now saying, hey, like, we want to try to do this, or, what can you do to help us reach these people in XYZ field? And so, and I think that it's been definitely mutually beneficial. I mean, as you've known, working so closely with us, we're not here. Like when you are having a good day, that's a great day for me. Right. And people have a hard time understanding that. And, I think that now the openness to this, that, all right, the things we've been doing, like I said, for years and years and years, maybe aren't working anymore. Where can we go to figure out a new strategy or something that will work in this new environment we're living in? And they're using us as that resource. And I think rightfully so. So that's definitely been a change.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think you lifted that okay.
We did good.
Putting you on the spot there.
Had to stretch before that one. Now I'm doing my cool down.
Oh.
Yeah,
Do you need a deep breath or
I got a water
glass of water or something?
I probably go through 2 glasses. Sure.
Hey, I'm going to shift back to your culture, your company culture a little bit.
Yep.
I'm going to put you on the spot again because I love doing this. You just respond so well.
Oh, geez.
5 fundamental goals of USLI, which I think are actually, I'm going to say it's actually 7, but 5's a nice round number.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Whatever.
So combined ratio 90% or less. Number 1. That goes across the board, and just from a clear view perspective, like, yeah, if you do that, you're going to be successful as a company. And what that means is your overall, you're basically at a 10% profit every year. That's what 90% combined ratio means. So that's our goal, number 1. Number 2,
combined is the underwriting profit and then the overhead expenses and everything it costs to run the company.
Exactly. So if like 100% is like, okay, we're at the same spot we were last year, like 0 movement. So if you're at 90%, exactly.
100% is breaking even.
So you want to be below that in terms of, if you're above that, it means you're spending more than you're bringing in. You're spending 10% more than you're bringing in. If you're at 110%, for 90, okay, you brought in this amount, which equals this 100% over the course of the year, but your overall expenses have only equaled 90% of that. So now you're rolling over 10%, and you want to, that's our goal, is to do that every year. So number 2, get what we want, and our customers love giving it to us. So I think that goes right back into what we were saying. What do we want as a company, USLI? We want to bring in new business. We want more business, and you all are, bringing that to us, as our wholesalers, and we want you to want to work with us. So being the best of what we do, being available, easy to contact, easy to work with, be known as a company that comes through and does the things that we say we're going to do, helps us to hit that goal. And then number 3, the number 1 service industry in the company, not to sound repetitive, but just being available again. I mean, how many times, there are agents listening to this, or you're working with other carriers where you just can't get a hold of somebody, or it's a huge pain to work with somebody. So that's what we want to avoid doing. And that's what it means to be the number 1 service industry, service insurance company in the industry. Number 4, which is a very USLI-esque thing, is make our people feel number 1. I think that goes across the board, whether it's our community or beyond. We should all be treating each other like we want to be treated, and from a professional standpoint as well. And as a company, as a community, as we interact with one another, that's something that we want to do. and then keep it simple. This is Tom's goal. Keep it simple, give it 100% effort, win, and have fun doing it. So really, I mean, there's a lot packed into that, and that's probably where you get what 5, 6, and 7 from. Um, that's what I thought. But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, what's the saying? Is it KISS? Is that what it is? Keep it simple, stupid, something like that. So I mean, like, have
Yeah.
that mindset.
Yeah.
Don't rush into something just to fail. Think it through, and then if it's the right strategy, give it everything you got. Because then whether you succeed or fail, you did your best, and I don't think anyone should feel bad about that ever.
Mhm.
Have fun doing it, and I think having that
Mhm.
mindset is, it doesn't go hand in hand with being in a having in your job, or generally whatever it is. It's people don't think of work all the time as fun, but if you can look at it in that, or through that lens, as like, all right, this is a challenge. Like, I'm gonna get on the top of this mountain, or complete that challenge, and you do it. I mean, that sounds like fun to me. Now, we're all wired differently, but I think it's definitely possible. So yeah, that's goal 5 and 6 and 7, Ben. So hopefully, so we got it all in there for you. Pat myself on the back
Good
right now.
job.
I know you
Very
can't
good.
see me.
Bravo. You definitely should. You definitely should. It'll be a good segue to, can you explain the
USLI
USLI experience?
experience. Yeah, I mean, that goes into, it's something unique that we try to allow the people that we work with, our customers, to experience when they work with us, in a way that they don't experience with anybody else. So and a lot goes into that, but really what it is again, we want you to enjoy working with us. We don't want it to be a drag, for you to work with us. Oh man, I gotta go back to USLI for this. It should be, thank God it's USLI I'm going back to, and not carrier XYZ. And for this, because they're really great at what they do. Their service is incredible. So just that whole experience from point A, right, all the way to home plate, whatever it is, that whole cumulative experience is a good one, and one that you will want to repeat again. And I think that for us, being consistent in that mindset, and what we're giving back to our customers.
Yeah, and it is a good one. I can speak personally,
Right.
and for those that buy in, um, really enjoy working with USLI for the most part. I mean, I certainly have learned a ton from you guys, and it's been a wonderful experience. Yeah. Staying on the same theme, how our industry, I'm sure you've learned by now, loves acronyms, right? We put
It's a big
letters
insurance
onto
thing. I'm
everything
not
and then
sure why,
expect
but it
everyone to
is.
just know what we mean. It really is,
I don't even try to follow them.
especially in
Those guys
accounting
in,
for
in
some reason.
accounting and actuarial stuff, they're on a whole
Oh,
nother level. They're like, so, it really is a whole nother language. I have no idea what they're what they're talking about.
well, you guys have an acronym that actually is a word,
Oh yeah,
and maybe you can describe it a little bit.
yep. Care
It's
squared.
called care squared, I believe it is, or care two. I think it's care squared. What is that in?
Yeah, I think if I had to actually make up what the USLI experience is, it would be care squared. Care about what you're doing, have the right attitude, show respect to the people you're working with, understand, empathy, understand where people are coming from, see it as a human interaction, not, always, um, have that business hat on, but you're talking to people, and talk to them as a person. um, and then have energy too, and bring that every day. And I think that's a trait, especially that energy, that um, is so important in what we do at USLI, in terms of bringing on new people, and training them. And I mean, all of this is important, all of these aspects, and we really have a very thorough vetting process. I could tell you, when I got hired, I think I did 5 or 6 interviews. It took a 2 hour
Oh, only
like
only five.
test on, I don't even know. It felt like I was taking the SAT or something. And then I had to take a 2-hour caliper personality test. So it's a very strong vetting process where we're looking for people that bring that care squared, that caring attitude, respect, empathy, energy, in their day-to-day lives. And then seeing that play out in their role at USLI as well. And the people that have that, they do really well here. And so that's why it's so important to us is, to have the right people and, people who care about those things and see them just do really well because of that creates that whole experience.
It's a wonderful thing. And I think that everyone I've dealt with at USLI, everyone that's still there anyway, has really brought that forward. And you can not just see it, but you can feel it. And I think that's what you're supposed to do with that is you're supposed to get a feeling
That's awesome. Yeah.
of all of
I
that.
love to
And
hear
I
that.
think you do that very well. Now, historically, October has been a month where, and I think this is attached to Care Squared, maybe not, you can correct me, but baskets for breast cancer. And I know that's been put on hold. I bring this up because I just sat through and listened
Okay.
to Dr. Marissa Weiss with breastcancer.org. She gave a speech about kind of people dealing with cancer, breast cancer, and going through this during COVID and what that's meant and how things have changed and everything. And it was really interesting. I'm glad she took the time to do that. But you haven't been able to do that fundraising aspect of collecting baskets from your
Right.
customers, gift baskets that would be auctioned off to anyone, and all the proceeds going to breastcancer.org. Now,
Yeah.
this year you
October
have
Together. Yeah.
October Together.
So yeah, our
Is that
title is
right?
October Together, Be
What is
Together for
that?
Breast Cancer. And I mean, really, we're just saying like, look, things in the world have changed, but our mission in this, breast cancer awareness and breast cancer awareness month isn't going anywhere. And this is something that still deserves our attention and our thoughts and our desire to help those who need it, who have gone through this terrible thing or know someone who has. And and especially too, I think just in society, like we all, a lot of us feel like separated from one another, because of COVID and then, everything going on in our country, and maybe we feel divided. And so really just the message is, this is an area where we should all agree, where we can come together and where we can, make a difference.
You have certainly made a difference over the years. From what I've gathered and read about this every year, it's been fun to watch, and
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely. I
glad that
mean,
you guys are supporting such a
there's
cause.
things in this
That's just
world
a really
that,
cool thing.
we all, that should be, uniting us. And it is really encouraging to see, again, there's so much, you watch the news, it can be very depressing, or you see like, bad things going on. But when you see people just set that stuff aside in this country and focus on something like breast cancer, where we all agree that this is a terrible thing and we want to make a difference, and everyone come together to do that, is really encouraging and really a great thing. And I think we need more of that.
Yeah, sometimes it
Absolutely.
takes the most
Absolutely.
awful thing out there to bring everyone together. Going back to your specific role, instant quote specialist, can you explain the different pillars of instant quote? I'm pretty familiar with it, but for the audience, I'd like for anyone in insurance to understand
Yeah. So,
what
I
makes
mean,
instant quote up.
instant quote, our thought process, this platform has been out for over 10 years. And our thought process behind it was, what sort of value added resource can we bring to our customers and their agents that will allow them to turn small to mid-sized, accounts around as quickly as possible. And our phone and web quoting, was what the solution we came up with. And what I always tell people about this platform, the phone quoting, nobody wants to spend hours or days going back and forth with an underwriter, even if they're, very responsive or whoever, in order to get an $800 policy bound and issued, and they get $80 or $100. Nobody wants to do that. That's the last thing you want to do. So what service can we offer that will allow them to talk with an underwriter, get their questions answered right then and there, not have to worry about coming back with more information back and forth all the time, not knowing if you have everything you need, and at the same time get that, business taken care of. And our average turnaround time is like 5 to 7 minutes. You really can't beat that. And especially in today's world, so much of how the service industry is made up is automated. I mean, I could ask you, how often do you call your internet provider and you got to hit like 8 different buttons before maybe you get put on a 30-minute hold to talk to.
Love that, by the way. No, it's great.
You're
It's what
definitely
makes
not
that
going to forget
experience
it. I'll
unique. I
tell you
know
that.
who I'm calling when that
But
happens.
it's so we're, in a world where everything is so automated, and like when you call a service like that, you're like, all I want to do is talk to a person. Agents feel that same way about an underwriter, a carrier, getting something done and quoted. So if you provide a good experience, and I can tell you, I've had hundreds of these conversations. Agents are saying, I don't know if I want to try this thing. I don't know what it's about. I'm like, look, let me just show you. And I show them it. I do a demo. And best case scenario, we get maybe even a live business done for them. And they get a quote. And I ask them, what do you think? They're like, 99% of the time, that's it? Yeah, that's it. Wow, that was like 5 minutes. Yeah, no, that's exactly what it's about. And because people are just so used to sending out an email, and in some cases, maybe you need to do that, but sending out an email, waiting to get an email back. We need more of this information. Okay, great. This was spelled wrong. Okay, I'll do this, that. And it's just a draining process. And like I said, it's for very little back in your actual pocket. So that's the focus we want also, is the small to mid-sized accounts, because that's where this is going to bring the most value to people who do utilize it.
Yeah, it's surprising how quick it can be. And it's only gotten quicker over the years. I remember working with it probably just a year or two or a
We have
couple
over
years after it had been
65
out. And
underwriters.
how many people are on the phone quote team now?
Yeah, I mean, last year when I was like getting started,
I remember when it was
55.
around 10.
So it's definitely growing, and I think that speaks to its success and people using it and continuing to use it.
It is surprising how quick and easy it is. I mean, you helped me put together some videos to show people. Like you said, when you show them, it's like, oh, well, that's it. We put together a video of a demo just so we could post it on YouTube and everything and say, here, look. And I was expecting, we always preach 3 to 5 minutes, something like that, which is amazing for getting an insurance quote, especially on like a commercial, business. And it was a minute. I'm like, so we're doing a video, not a TikTok. I mean, this is really short.
Yeah, no, that's
so
what
it was
like
surprisingly.
If it wasn't
welcoming.
short, it has to stand out some way. It has to be different for people. But yeah, it's funny getting people to actually listen to it is the hardest part. But once we do it, the response is almost overwhelmingly positive every time.
I've had some concerns of, I know it's fast and it's easy and everything, but I don't know if it's the best thing out there, if it's the best price out there. And I've always told people, like, look, if quick and easy, if convenience is what you're looking for, if that's what your client is looking for, they need something now, use this. And if you can sell it and they're okay with it, sell it. If it's too much, then tell them, okay, it's going to take me another day or two or a week or whatever, but I'll probably be able to find you a cheaper price on certain products, but it's going to take me more time. And if they're okay with waiting, then great.
Yeah,
Whatever they
absolutely.
want. But
And
if
I
you
think
want
one of the
now,
aspects of it that
there's
goes a
nothing
long
like
way
this.
too is if we're not able to quote something, that's like not the end of the conversation, right? Well, we're not like, we're never going to decline anything on you on Union General's behalf. Like we want to get them back over to you if it's not something we're able to do, and let you remarket it. So I think it would leave a bad taste in agents' mouth if they called in and we didn't get a quote, and we're like, all right, thanks for calling, and we just hang up. If we don't at least try to get them back to you all where you can remarket that and hopefully find a home for the risk that they have. So I think that goes a long way too.
I love how you pass that back to us and let us do the dirty work of declining things. That's great. Smart move. Do you have any crazy or fun examples that have happened to you on an instant quote phone call?
Oh man, I mean,
or that you've heard from other underwriters.
All
like,
sorts
let me
of
tell
risks,
you about this.
I mean, I can just tell you one of the things I love in my day to day is when I can get people or agents who I'm talking to finally agree to a demo and a demonstration of the phone quote, and how it's like pulling teeth sometimes. And I'm like telling them, like, look, we got you on the phone. Do you have something you want to get quoted? Do you have something you're working on? They're like, no, I'm good. And then I get an underwriter in the line. I'm like, hey, look, we have an underwriter. Are you sure you don't want to get something quoted? Like, oh, you know what? I do have this thing here. Like, once you get them on a line with an underwriter, it's like the whole thing changes, and I realize like, okay, I can actually get some work done here too. So I don't know. I just have seen that so often where it's like a twofold strategy. Like, all right, they're gonna say no probably first. Let's get an underwriter on, ask him again, and then we can probably get it done. So I don't know how fun that is, but it's just an interesting thing that I've noticed. Over
Yeah.
the last months I've been doing this.
I like how you issue each one of your customers that have instant quote phone their own toll free like 800 number. So when your underwriters pick up the call, they know exactly which customer, which
Yeah,
wholesaler it's coming from. And I just think that's a really
absolutely
cool
not.
thing. Do you remember any of those phone
There might
numbers?
be one guy in IT who I
Does
think
anyone?
might know a lot of them, but they're in a lot of places where, oh my god, if I
Oh,
had
and
to
IT.
remember all those numbers, I think my head would explode. There are so many. Now a lot of them start with like 888, right? Like 800. So like I got that, but the key for me is like I just put them in my phone. It's in my phone.
Yeah.
I need it. It's there.
Yeah.
Especially if we were going into offices in person too, just
Yep.
being able to pull that up on the phone right away. I don't have to like dig through paperwork or something to find the right one. Have it in your phone. You're ready to go no matter what circumstances you're in.
What are your most
Hmm.
successful customers,
That's a
in your
great
opinion?
that's a great
What do they
question.
do that leads to
And I mean,
success?
I would say, you all are definitely at Union General, definitely the cream of the crop too. And I think it's a willingness just to invest in promoting the platform. I mean, you have people, Niall and Eamon do such a great job of talking to agents about this platform and how it's going to bring so much value to their day to day, and are willing to show them that too. And I think it's like with any wholesaler who is not willing to, it's tough for people to try new things, like we were saying. But if you are willing to invest the time to learn about it yourself and be able to talk about it, when I'm not on the meeting with you, where you feel comfortable talking about that and telling them about all the benefits that this platform can bring to them, uh, as, as a company apart from USLI, then you're going to start seeing the floodgates open up. I think the people that I see struggle with the most, who is it, or the, wholesalers who are the most challenging, are the ones that are willing, to an extent, to do, so, and some of these strategies that we have that will help to promote the platform and get agents using it. But as soon as they're not on the phone with me or doing a webinar with me, they're never talking about it. They're like, oh, I'm doing what you're saying to do, but we're not seeing a lot of movement. And it's like, well, great. But like, what are you doing when I'm not there? Are you still talking about it? Do you have, the postcard on hand that you're sharing with your agents when I'm not there? Are you doing a demo for someone or asking for live business when you have them on the phone and taking that 5 minutes
Mm-hmm.
to get a quote and immediately bring value to that interaction? And for the people that, again, take that small initial step to agree to do some stuff with me, but then don't continue that message when I'm not really holding their hand, they struggle. And until that we break through that barrier of, okay, we have to really invest in this message and this initiative on our own as well to see this success. It's a challenge for them. But once they do, I tell you, the floodgates open up, and like I said, I think you guys are a prime example of that. Having people that, when I came on the team 6 months ago, I mean, Eamon could have could have done circles around me with his knowledge of instant quote. I mean, it was great for me to hear that from him, and we've seen the tangible success that comes from that. So,
Mm-hmm.
I think just having that buy-in beyond working directly with me, getting to that point, is what the most successful, our most successful wholesalers do.
Yeah, momentum's a crazy thing. It's way more powerful than what people give it credit for, and it's a lot of effort up front. It really is. But a little bit down the road, I
Yeah,
mean, you barely have to push that flywheel at all. It just kind of goes itself. Every once in a while, you just do a little something. But up front, it takes a lot of work. And like what you mentioned, you do it when I'm here, but you don't when I'm not. And what is that? I think there's an old quote probably like John Wooden or
Oh
something
yeah,
about character.
absolutely.
It's what you do when nobody can see. It's the same thing. Like you do a great job of helping get us on the path and show us the tips and tricks and what to do and how to do it. But then if we don't
Yeah,
keep
and
doing
wondering
it,
why,
it's
you know,
kind
like
of like
what's the
it's like
definition
starting a book
of
over every time you pick
insanity?
it up.
It's like trying
Yeah.
it, you know, doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different outcome.
Right.
So but yeah, it's all additive and cumulative. And
Right.
if
Right.
you know you continue preaching that message, then and you know that your agents are getting comfortable with it as well, and you know they know what it's about also, then they're going to
Mhm.
be on board too, and then you don't have to hold their hand every time you talk about this with them. So
Mhm.
you know it's all additive and cumulative, and all has
Mhm.
to work together to be really successful.
Do you think that would be the message that you'd want to give to all of your instant quote
No, I mean
customers?
I really think that
Keep
would be
doing
it.
this
Like
even when I'm not here,
I
or
am
would it be something
here
else?
to like to be a resource for you, to help you, you know, when you need it, and I'm always willing to do that. But you're going to see the most success utilizing this platform. And Ben, you can speak to this, and I know other wholesalers who have done that and seen the difference that it's made for them is well worth the investment. And that's how you do it. When you invest that time to continue
Mhm.
to talk about this platform and bring that message when I'm not there, then that's when a lot of things can start to move as well. Now they will when I'm with you, but I'm not, you know, on every single meeting with you all the time and talking about this. And you also have to be aware of what the conversation is also, like we were talking about, like being adaptable and listening and figuring out what is actually going to be beneficial for this agent.
Mhm.
But yeah, if you can get on board with this when I'm not there and talk about it, you're going to reap the benefits and your company is going to reap the benefits. And we've seen it time and time again over the last decade that that is a major indicator of who is having success
Mhm.
with this platform, and who, you know, and the benefits that they reap thereafter. So that would certainly be my first and foremost message to our customers who want to see this thing
Mhm.
do well.
Yeah, the power that you bring in one of your customers by offering this is it's hard to measure. It really is. I mean, it's an extension of our own underwriters, I suppose, because we don't. I mean, you can figure out ways to get more business in the door. You can make it faster and easier to get it to you, at least like
Hmm.
us at our level. But you still got to have the people to handle them when we get them, and that takes bodies, that takes people. And what you bring to the table with this instant phone quote team and web quote is that you allow our customers to go straight to you to get what we would have otherwise given you. And if they like it, that's when they reach out
Right.
to us about it. And if they don't like it, it just kind of goes away as a submission. No, we tried, but they didn't say anything. Now we have our own processes behind the scenes that we do with those, but you don't have to. And so really when we find out about it and touch it, when an underwriter does, it's not until they say, oh, hey, by the way, I want to issue this policy. It's just at the very end point. And what that opens up for us for the smaller policies that they don't bring in a ton of premium, a lot of them, they're really inexpensive. You don't want them costing you a lot of money by touching them too much. You guys really open that up to where we
Right.
don't have to
And
touch it at all
that's because
until it's
you know it's like
already
that
become a
passive
success
income we were
story.
talking about, where if
Yeah,
you
and I
can
think that's
get
great.
traction with this thing and build momentum with this platform, uh, it's going to bring so much value and business uh, to your day to day, and you're going to reap the
Mhm.
benefits of that. But yeah, it's like you said, you have to make that investment off the bat, and if
Mhm.
you're willing to take the time to talk about it and learn about it, then
Mhm.
you're gonna see all those tangible successes in your day to day.
And you include something with every
Yeah,
USLI policy when it's issued. Um, a lot of paper, first of all, but you have to. But you include something for free. I mean, it doesn't cost anything to have this included. The Business Resource Center. Can you give that its own little platform real quick and explain what that is and maybe some real life
yeah,
examples of
absolutely.
how
So
it
the
is
Business
used
Resource
for
Center
the
is
the
available
policyholder?
to any insured on one of our policies who has an annual policy. And really what it can do is just provide some immediate value added resources that go into that particular policy or risk. So let's say you have a landlord and they want to do background check or a credit score on the potential tenant. They can utilize our business resource center and get that at a vastly discounted rate. Some other stuff, some marketing resources we can offer them, human resources, hugely that we had so many requests for help with human resources because of COVID and having to lay people off, which is really unfortunate, but just making sure they're doing that the right way. And so it really covers a wide range of areas that can benefit, insureds depending on their specific needs. So from anything from people who are a landlord to have their own businesses, or they want to create a flyer to get word out, or email to people for their business, they're in the restaurant business, all that's available to them. And again, they just have to have an annual policy with USLI, and they have direct access to all those things.
Yeah, I knew one customer, and he is a retail broker. And what he did was he issued a policy for his own office, just a little business owner policy for his office for slip and fall type stuff, and cover the desks and computers and whatnot. And he also, one of the services he provided was background checks. And so background checks, typically when you go to get them from someone that offers that service, I mean, they can be $50, $60, $70, $100, depends where you go. And so he was using access to the business resource center to run these discounted background checks on anyone that came into his office and wanted a background check on themselves. And he was making quite the profit because it was a pretty heavily discounted rate that he was getting.
Like you said, if you use it once,
I thought that
you
was
save a little bit of money for using it. Or again, you're suddenly going to start, I'm saving a lot of money here. So yeah, just again, a really nice added value resource that we have to insurance, that they can use whenever. So
what advice do you think that you would give to a smart driven college student about to enter, quote unquote, real world?
That second part's interesting.
Would you give them, and what advice should they maybe ignore?
Just be willing to work hard. And I know that goes without saying, but there are, I saw it in college, and maybe I was guilty of that a little bit of myself at some point, but you have the ability to sort of like cruise, and you sort of know what you're doing, how much work you need to put in to get by, and that's fine. And I think where people run into trouble in their professional careers is when they bring that mindset to the workplace, and suddenly great, you got hired, you're in this entry level position, things are looking up, and you're applying the same habits and work ethic that maybe you did in college, where again, you're studying enough, you're working hard enough to get that 3.0 maybe, and it's okay, you don't really have to push yourself. And then you're a year in, or a year and a half in at your entry level position, and suddenly your peers are starting to get promoted, and things are happening around you, and you're sort of getting left behind, and you're asking yourself, oh, what happened? What's like, why isn't this working out for me? Like, why am I not getting this recognition or these same opportunities? And I can tell you it's because they're probably doing the same thing that they did in college, where they're doing just enough at their job to get by, to not have their boss look too closely at them, wonder what's going on. But at the same time, they're not putting themselves in a position to progress in their profession or to stand out. So what I would say is, once you get, if that's something you did in college, that it is what it is. A lot of people do it. When you get to the professional world, you need to work hard. You need to, in some instances, go above and beyond. It might be putting in extra time, and maybe get overtime, maybe don't in some instances. But especially early on, if you can create that reputation as a hard worker, a team player too, of course. I'm not saying like trample anybody as you try to do this, but really work hard and show that from an early stage that, okay, well, I can count on John to do XYZ as a leader. And, he's maybe looking to get promoted in this area. The leader of that team's going to ask me about him, and that's what I'm going to tell him. He works hard, he's reliable, and he does what he says he's going to do and what I ask him to do. And so that's something I'd say you definitely need to bring when you enter into the professional world. And that should also go out into your day-to-day life as well. Just, you got to be willing to go above and beyond in certain instances and get out of your comfort zone. The advice I would say to ignore, especially when you get out of college, is that, I'm not qualified for this job, or I didn't study for this, I didn't major in this, so I'm not going to fit in this field. Unless you're trying to be an engineer or a doctor or a lawyer, that's total BS. Okay. There are people who succeed in so many different fields, and they didn't major in it, didn't minor, whatever it could be, and they're having great success. From personal experience, I think I mentioned earlier, I studied criminal justice and minored in political science. I thought I was going to be a cop. I never thought about the insurance world for 1 second during my college career. I had no experience in it when I interviewed at USLI. And what good companies will do is look at people and say, okay, like maybe, they didn't study risk management, but we see these other character traits or characteristics that make up what a successful person in our company looks like, and I hire you based off that. So if you get good grades and you work hard, don't limit yourself to what you studied in school. If you studied English, you don't have to be an English teacher. If you studied history, you don't have to be a history teacher. So criminology, you don't have to be a police officer or go to law school. There are so many opportunities out there that are available to you, that if you set your mind to, and it's something that you really want to pursue, that door can be open to you. So don't limit yourselves, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Broaden your horizons. Look in areas maybe you thought you hadn't considered before to get your career started, and get after it.
I think that's a great response to that. Okay, I heard this one guy on a podcast that I listened to. This psychologist, this doctor called his name's Michael Gervais. He's the sports psychologist for the Seattle Seahawks. Works with Pete Carroll. I love how he questions things and the way that his just brain works. He asks these questions to some of his guests, these quick fire questions at the very end, and I love it. I'm going to do it to you. My purpose is
to be successful, but build important relationships at the same time. I feel like that was corny, but that's what I got.
It's all right. Last one, I
promise. Caring. It all comes down to caring. If you care about what you're doing, then you have a good shot at doing well in it.
I love it. Awesome, Jonathan. Thank you for joining this episode of the curiUSity podcast in our never-ending pursuit to understand more. We hope that whenever you are presented with something that makes you stop and wonder, you'll have that courage needed to ask those questions, digging just a little bit deeper. Approach everything with that childlike wonder that causes you again and again to ask why or how. You'll be amazed how many answers and stories are dying to be told, and that everyone truly is an expert at something, even you. Check out our website at uniongeneralinsurance.com for more resources intended to bring you value, both inside and out of the insurance world. Things ranging from communication tips or leadership lessons, or how to get quick, simple quotes on all types of insurance. Until next time, stay curious, my friends, and never stop learning, because everyone can be your teacher if you're looking for it.